we're going to be talking about getting to the next stage of business. And this morning, it was more about just an eye-opener on maybe where you're at in your business. So maybe you've looked, maybe there's just one sign that maybe you can address something that's in your business. Maybe there's a couple. Or maybe the whole list, you relate to the whole list. And believe me, I was looking at that list many times, and I'm still a business owner, and I still have to go back and fix stuff. And as you're growing, you're always tweaking and fixing and making better and implementing something different. So sometimes you implement a system that brings you to 2 million, and then you need a totally different system to bring you to 5, and the same to 10. One of the questions I get all the time is, how fast is it possible to grow? Because for some people, it's not about growth. For some people, it's profit. For some people, it's freedom. They want more time. But for some people, it's how fast can we get this done? Well, the answer is, it has nothing to do with your team. It has nothing to do with your business. It's mindset. Honestly, it's 80% of it. And so what took you to whatever you are right now, you're going to need a totally different mindset to get to the next stage. And so we're going to do an exercise, and I think you probably received 2 pages on your table. You got this one that says, what's your time worth? And then the other one is the stages of business. We're going to be talking about both this afternoon. But the question was asked, how fast can you grow? 3 years ago, it's a company from Pittsburgh, just an hour and a half, a couple hours from here maybe, Local Roots Landscaping. So a couple of guys called me up, and they said, yeah, we want to grow the business. And just like young guys, motivated to change, they were in for kind of an eye-awakening moment when I showed them this page, all right? Because basically, if you look at this page, it's very strategic. If you're doing everything on this page, or a lot of things on this page, you're probably feeling overwhelming. And you're probably doing things that you should not be doing that you could pay someone else to do. So on your left side, you have tasks that you can honestly hire an admin. That's probably one of the best moves you can do for a business, is when you're ready for it, whether you're 2 people in your business or 3 or 4, you can hire people part-time. And this morning I failed to ask Angelica to stand up, but would you mind just standing up? From Advanced Administrations. I work with another company, it's Advanced Landscaping, and anyways, always mix it up. Yes, she is amazing. So you have no excuses for an admin, because this morning when I told the story about Mike said, Frank, I don't want somebody else to come into the office, and then I have to make sure it's clean, and then I have to make sure the washroom is all fixed up, and then, so I said, no problem, just hire remote. And honestly, this solved so much of his problems. He was skeptical at first, and now he's the pure believer of it. So if it's been your excuse that it's just kind of a hassle, it's one of the fastest things you can do today to change your business. And Angelica never asked me to say anything at all. I didn't even know you were here today. And honestly, if you knew Mike and you saw what they're doing for him, you'd say anyone can do it, because Mike is a pure contractor. He's the guy who's on the field, has no interest for the office. And he had no clue about technology and all that stuff, and they're doing it all for him. So if it's been on your mind and you've been too much on this side of the page, then see Angelica after, because you can start moving to the right. And the more you move up to the right side, the more your value increases, whether you're the business owner, whether you're a leader, whether you're a foreman, doesn't matter. The more you make happen for the company, because these tasks will help the company grow. And if you're doing all of them, your company will just not grow. All right? So before I get to it, I did this exercise, and you guys can comment on it at the end if you want. But when I did this exercise with these guys, they realized that they were doing it all. And they were working about 80 hours a week, these 2 over here on the corner, bottom corner. And this was the team at the time. They were between 8 to 12 employees, subcontractors, and they were doing about 1.2 million. And in 3 years, they grew to 8 million plus in 3 years. And the owners, they're in and out of the business, but they took vacation this summer. They took more vacation this year than they took ever. And they're busier than ever. They train people. The only difference between these guys and a lot of people that I meet is they did not set any limit for their mindset. So some people, they only believe that certain things are possible. They're like, yeah, it's possible for them, but not for me, right? Like for you guys, there's probably some stuff that you say, well, Frank, it works for them, but is it going to work for us? Whether it's marketing or other things, right? Then you switch it on to marketing. Remember when you switched it on and you're like, Frank, oh my God, we're getting like 20 leads, 40 leads now. It's just, so now you build a new process. You process these leads. You get someone to help on the admin side. You guys did that as well. And then you hire somebody else that can help you with sales. You did that as well, right? The design part of it. But these guys, we worked together during the COVID time, so we were spending a lot of time together, and they tackled every single thing on here. Every single thing. And now their goal is to work about 5 hours per week and to reach 10 million plus. And they've opened up 3 other companies related to landscape, like a landscape depot. They have a big truck. I don't know how much they paid for it, but you can do mulching up on a high rise. So it pumps the stuff there. It's probably like a $400,000 truck. So that's one business. And then, so they open different business related to it that's going to help them grow in different directions that nobody else is doing in Pittsburgh. Or they're just going to do it, but try to do it better than what's around them. So the goal for them is just to grow something that grows as an asset. They've reinvested some of their profit back into real estate. So now they own multiple buildings on top of that. And that all happened in 3 years. All right, so if your question is, Frank, what can we get done? It all depends on your mindset. That's the only thing I can attribute all their success is that they never set a limit. These guys were like, tell us what's next. Tell us what's next. That's all they did. Tell us what's next. And when I said, and the owner said, well, we're going to pay ourselves this much, but we're going to reinvest all of it back into the business. So it's not like they paid themselves $300,000 or $400,000 a year, which they could right now, but their goal is to grow something, to hire people, to train people, to build leaders, because when you build leaders, you can grow. And they were the first ones who said, and if you've heard yourself say that, just stop, because we can fix that problem. When I hear someone say, there's no one out there, I can't find anyone to work for me, well, first of all, you got to change the business and your mindset in order to hire people that would be attracted to what you have. So if the best worker in the world shows up to your door and knocks at your door and you're not ready for them, they're not going to want to work for you. So the goal is to, let's focus on what we control, not what we don't control. But there are ways. And this team of 12, in 3 years, grew to over 50, now 60 employees. And their employees are really good. Now when they hire someone that doesn't fit their culture, they're out within a month. They just don't fit there. Because they focused on exactly this. Leadership, delegation, trust, training, onboarding. They invested, so usually 2 to 5% of your profits, usually minimum, will go into your marketing to get more clients. During COVID, some people were investing 0. Some companies were investing everything in the marketing to find new employees, right? So now, coming into 2024, I think we're going to see a lot of changes. I think everyone here in the room should start budgeting for marketing, not only for finding clients, but for finding employees. Someone says, how much should I spend if I'm making $1 million in revenue, how much should go for hiring employees? Well, guess what? These guys invested anywhere from 20 to 50K of their revenue just to find people. So they had ads going out. They were going out to do presentations in schools. They were doing all these things to reach out to as many people as they could. Right? So that's their story. What I'm going to go through today is they did every single step. They just did it really fast because they had the mindset to do it, the willingness to do it, and they believed in the process. So like I told my son the other day, he's like, Dad, I don't know if I want to go to college or university. And it's funny. Anyone here took business in university or college? Okay, there's a few people. It's funny because I took a course in university and my teacher was giving all this advice. And I asked him, I said, oh, how many employees do you have in your business? He said, I never owned a business. And to me, I was like, right then and there, I didn't feel like coming back because it was just theory. It works, like theoretically, it works, but only sometimes. But you and I are in the school of hard knocks, right? We have no choice but to find answers when something happens. So that's what I want to focus on. Because you can read stuff in books, it doesn't always work the same way for landscape companies or hardscape companies. So the systems we're going to be talking about today are exactly what these guys did to grow, and you're the only limit. So if you choose to limit yourself and believe it's possible, great. That's your limit. You have no limit. But if you limit yourself to thinking you're stage one and you're going to be there forever, well, you're right also. You will be. So let's take this page and let's go over a few things. The best way to go through this exercise to bring you more value is take a pen and circle what you do on a regular basis. All right? So on the $15 per hour range, so I would say that the first two rows, if you can get out of it in the next year, your revenue is going to go up, your profit's going to go up, and you're going to attract better employees. All right? So running errands, cold calling, social media, email sorting, data entry, answering phones. Sometimes I get the question, yeah, but I answer the phone because I know what to answer. I know what to tell people that call. Well, guess what? You can train someone to do that. You can train someone to ask the right questions. You can ask someone to take the right notes and get back to the client if there's something else to get back to the client with. And these are the kind of questions, if you're asking yourself as I go along, just pick Angelica's brain on this one because she's figured out how to do this very, very well. She hires people, she trains them, she makes sure that she does it the way that the landscape industry needs it done. From pre-screening people, to bringing more leads, to tracking these leads, to emailing, to scheduling, running reports, even vehicle inspections checklists, creating meeting agendas, reviewing resumes. This is all the kind of stuff that Mike from Dowd's Landscaping did with them just in the last few months. On the $50 per hour range, attending meetings. If you attend a meeting and you find a solution to a problem, so let's say you had an employee that every time you have a team meeting, that employee shows up and finds the solution to your biggest problem, would you not pay them a lot more? If every time that person shows up, they're looking to solve the biggest problem you have, whether it's productivity, whether it's tracking materials, whether it's tracking the hours on site, clocking in, clocking out. But someone who brings people together, that's valuable, but only if you make it valuable. Some people have meetings, they discuss nothing. They come out of it and say, what did we talk about? We were there for an hour. No, a meeting should be very precise. Hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing well. Here's what we should change. Here's the plan. Here's how we're going to execute. You can be out of it in half an hour if you want, or 15 minutes. The important thing is don't waste people's time because they won't want to attend those meetings. You make them more valuable and yourself more valuable when you're able to organize everyone and keep them in order. So, meetings, building a website, filling in for staff, bookkeeping, emailing customers, building marketing campaigns, following up with customers, creating an employee handbook. Why is it important to create an employee handbook? Nobody's going to read it, right? That's what I hear all the time, right? Nobody's going to take that book and read it before going to bed, right? I know I didn't in my own company, but the reason why it's important is that if you're the business owner and you have all this information in your mind the way it should be done, it should be on paper somewhere. Because if something happens to you tomorrow and nobody knows what's going on and how to do it and what's the procedure and how you do it and what step is included, no one's going to be able to take your place when you're not there. But if you put it on paper, then you can divide it in different sections and train specific people to do specific things. And the clearer you get on the roles and responsibilities of your people, if it's on paper, what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to track, what kind of training you're going to provide them, what kind of onboarding you're going to provide their employees that come in. If you never train people and you always leave it to your foreman or your team leaders to train, it can be hard if you have no plan. But if you have this and it's on paper, this is one of the first things I did with Local Roots for them to grow the team really, really fast. We had to get all that information on paper and create procedures that work. So if anything happens, you don't have to call the boss. You're like, oh, I'm just going to check this. QR code in the truck, bang. You check out, okay, let's call, here's the phone numbers I got to call. So this is worth a lot because you do it once and it pays off time after time after time. It saves you a lot of time. Now let's get to when I say $50 an hour, it's not necessarily that you pay yourself $50 per hour, but if you're doing a lot more of these tasks on the right side, you're going to see your business grow in value. Your revenue is going to go up. You're going to be able to pay yourself more because you're bringing more value to the business. That's what I mean by that. It's not like you attend a meeting and say, okay, I'm going to pay myself $50 for that meeting, right? It's not what I mean. It's if you do it on a regular basis, you increase the value. All right. On the $100 side per hour, maintaining key relationships. Let's say you work with a subcontractor. That subcontractor provides you work. Let's say 2, 3, 4 projects. Who does pools here? I know there's a few. Craig? Cool. Well, when you start into pools, usually the way I started is I didn't know how to build pools. So I hired a subcontractor. Started working with that company. They didn't do hardscape, but we didn't do pools. So we complemented each other. At first, I realized they trusted us because we did a good job, but I didn't really maintain that relationship. So the guy who used to call me every month, then it was every couple months, every 3 months, and then finally I realized, hey, I got to maintain this relationship, right? This person is providing a lot of work. I should be taking them out for lunches, buying them tickets for, I don't know, in his case it was hockey games, just doing things that says, hey, thank you. I'm grateful. I recognize that you don't have to do that for me, and you're doing it anyways. And sometimes we're so busy, we just assume that the work will keep coming. But maintaining relationships just mean you take the time to say thanks. You take the time to also look for jobs that you can provide to them or value that you can bring them. Because these relationships, if I look at how much revenue that company brought us, it was in the millions. At least 5+ millions that they brought to us as a business. So is it worth investing into them? Absolutely. Bringing them value. Media purchases, creating a budget. I would say that creating a budget, it's in that middle row, just because for some people, it could save their business to have a budget, to know their numbers. Writing sales copy. When you have someone that has that ability to sell, it's incredible. Local Roots Landscaping, their salesman, their main one who's in charge of sales, sells over $6 million alone a year. And he built his team. He hired some designers, landscape architects, but he's able to produce $6 million just in sales, him alone. Is he worth more than just a regular guy who brings in $1 million a year or $800,000 in sales? Absolutely. It's way above average. Creating scripts, reviewing financials, hiring a virtual assistant. If Mike used to work 40 to 50 hours a week and now he works 20 to 30 because he has someone that can help him. And then when he feels like it, he does more. He works on his business. He starts talking about other systems he needs to implement. He's spending his time differently. Is it not worth at least $100 an hour for him, his value, just because he made that move? Absolutely. If you're only 1 or 2 employees, I get asked all the time, yeah, but is it worth it? Absolutely. It's worth it even more for you because you need to be working on site training people until you can get off the field. So if you're a smaller company, you're asking yourself the question, the answer is absolutely yes. Just find a budget that works for you. If it's 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, that's the easiest position to hire. All right? From all the positions we hire for, whether it's foremen, leaders, technicians, laborers, good admin people is the easiest, especially when you have a solution just like that. All right, on the $500 per hour side, sales funnels, improving closing ratios, like that salesperson who can sell $6 million now, he's figured it out. He's got a pretty solid system. Building employee funnels, business valuation assessments. So that's another thing. I do this for anyone who wants to have a plan. So when someone calls me and just want to do a 360 business evaluation, basically we look at all aspects of your business, from sales, admin, marketing, production, all right? We're able to give you a picture of what it is right now, what needs to be done, and your business value. We're also able to tell you if you improve certain aspects. Okay, there's 8 factors that really improves the business value. If you work on those aspects, you see exactly what you need to do first. So when you do that, let's say you take the time to do it, say you pause the operation for a second. You say, hey, there's a lot of things that's not working for my business. You're bringing a lot of value to your business because you want to stop the problem. That's the only way you can stop a problem is to pause, look at what you're doing, and find solutions. So right now, you're kind of doing that right now. You've attended this event, you're looking for some ideas, you're brainstorming with other people sitting at the table. I saw some people discussing all kinds of stuff, resources, just even outside. Your networking, that is bringing value to your business, whether you're doing it once a year, twice, or more. There's an event coming up next month in Louisville, Hardscape North America. Anyone going? Okay. That's been the #1 life-changing event for my business, but that was over 15 years ago when I attended the first time. And because I came back, and you're going to laugh, but it's no surprise to you, but Canada's a lot smaller, right? So we tend to evolve a little bit slower sometimes. Right? The news gets to us later. We're like 2 years behind, okay? So I went to Kentucky, came back with just tools that I saw there. I was pretty impressed, right? Like, ooh, wow, look at this level, look at this excavator bucket, and so I started investing in my business. And people from my area, which was really small on the East Coast, I don't know what that would be comparable here in the States, but it's very easygoing. It's on the shore, so people, it's just very relaxed. People would look at it and be impressed. They'd be like, wow. And now it's not impressive. But before, we came up with an app to do all our business just from our phone. But that we're talking about like 2012, 2011, and we could operate our business just from our phone or tablet. Now it's not impressive, but back then it was. But that was all kinds of ideas that we got at H&A and from other people from the industry. And so that's how I was asked to go speak the first time, was like, hey, you're running your company from your phone. You're the only company we know in our area, a small area in Canada, but they said, can you come and speak at the event? And then they gave my name to Hardscape North America. I started speaking there, and then it just kind of grew like that. But did that bring more value to my life and my business? Absolutely. It changed my whole life. Never thought I'd be on stage. It was probably like my biggest phobia. Like as a kid in class, I didn't want to go in front of the class, right? So, but it did change my life. But those are kind of activities that are on the right side. Even though sometimes we think it's a waste of time, we're like, I'm not going to waste 2 days there. What am I going to learn? Trust me. When there's 20 acres outside of equipment you can try out and test out, you don't have to go buy it. You can just test it out. See what works for you. And inside, there's like 20 acres of people you can meet and classes you can attend. So the point I'm trying to make with this is the more you move to the right, the more you're going to see yourself expand. You're going to see yourself want to do more for your business. And it kind of forces you to grow. Because if there's a problem in front of you and it's a new problem, well, good news. Because if you've just solved another problem and you don't see that problem anymore and you have a new problem because you're making too much money, I heard one company I work with, he says, I've never paid so much taxes. I'm like, yeah, but you've never made so much revenue, right? So why complain? Because you're making more profit than ever, you're paying yourself more than ever, you have better employees more than ever, and you're worried, you're focused on the taxes? Hey, it's a good sign. So sometimes it's just a mindset shift, and when it comes to systems, that's what it is. Because you don't know yet what's going to work for you. You have to try it. And trying for some people is tiring, but it's worth it. Would you say it's worth it? I'm just pointing you guys, but I could point to Brian here, and Kevin in the back, and Cody over here, right? They've all implemented things. So the 5 stages of business, you have on your table this page. So every time I finish a stage, I'm going to summarize it, and then I'll move on to my next slides. If you want to download this, you can scan this QR code. It's a 30-page book. I couldn't print it for you guys, but you just scan it. It'll basically pop up on your phone right away, and then you'll receive an email from me again with other resources like a waste calculator. It comes in the format of an Excel sheet, and you can punch in your numbers there. So when you look at a waste calculator, what it helps you do is just take a look. Brian, can I use you as an example? Okay. Brian did that this year, and we were like flabbergasted. You looked at it, and you're like, my potential revenue could be this? Like, he was just looking at how much was wasted. We know that we can't recoup 100% of it, but let's say we make the business 10% more efficient, right? If there's $1 million worth of waste, potential revenue that you could go get, all you have to do is get more efficient at your systems and take less time to do things. So when we looked at it, we were like, hey, how about, so we saw how much potential there was. We're like, what if we just took 20% of that? Because 10% is easy to do, 20% you're going to work to be more efficient in 1 year. And your revenue is going up this year, correct? Plus you eliminated the maintenance part of your business, and you're still making more revenue. So you had to really be laser focused on just what works. You didn't have any more time to waste, correct? You really had to tackle it. But that's what you did. So if you download this, you'll receive the waste calculator. So just punch in examples like how much time you spend loading and unloading the trailer. You just mentioned this morning, Travis, I think $2,000 wasted, or for our, how much? 160? Yeah, okay. For our company, when we started realizing how much money we were wasting, just loading and unloading morning and night, we bought all brand new enclosed trailer wrapped, and it paid for it in a year. With the wasted money we were doing the previous years, plus we gained an extra hour and 15 minutes minimum a day per crew. So food for thought. So this calculator will just help you punch numbers and just see how much potential more revenue you could be making if you tweak. You can't do it all, but you can start where it's easy, and that's what we did, well, with everyone I work with. But you'll see where you have the most wasted time and money on it, and just pick one or pick two. That's realistic, and you could get back 20% more revenue just by the revenue that you've wasted. You could get it back in 1 year if you put in some effort. So when you click on that, download it, that's going to be in the email, the checklist, the waste calculator. All right, let's do this. So stage one. Stage one, for those who were here last year, is going to be a quick reminder, but it's important because if you were in stage one last year and you're still in stage one this year, let's find a way to get you to stage two. All right? And if you're already there, then we'll get you to stage three. So this year should be different. You should listen to this presentation differently than last year because you're not at the same place. And if you are, even more reasons to go through it. So when you're the person in the field in stage one, you are in the field, like you're working. The most important thing you can do at that stage is train your people. And I'm not talking about like, watch me do it and then try it. That's not teaching someone. Teaching someone takes 4 steps. You got to do it to show them. Then you got to do it with them. Then you gotta watch them do it. If they're able to do it, then you can let them do it alone and come back if there's an issue. But usually the way it is in our industry, it's, all right, watch me, you got 5 minutes, after that you're gonna have to do it on your own, I have to go, I have some estimates to do, I got people to see stuff to do, right? That's how I train people, or used to, right? I know I'm not the only one, because I see a few people here smiling, right? Right, we've all done it. And some of the training before, I would hire a foreman, I didn't even have time to find out if they were qualified. So I would cross my fingers, and I'd say, here's the plan. Can you do that on that site? Yep. And then 2 weeks later, you find out that that person's not even qualified. Did that ever happen to you, that that person told you they were qualified, but they weren't? Everyone's so serious. They're like, no, that never happens to me. We always hire the right people, right? That happens all the time. They're always the best in the interviews. I'm going to share a tool, and you guys used it, and you had 2 great hires because you're not guessing anymore. There's actually tools that exist out there that are going to tell you what people are capable, how they are hardwired. If they're not hardwired to do that job, you will know just with this assessment, all right? And you guys are big believers now that you've experienced it, but there's an investment, right? It's a tool. So, person in the field, you're going to have to train your people. You're going to have to do basic things to show them that there's a process. So, start providing a plan, start training them how to do it, let them do it alone, or do it with them, let them try, support them. If you do this too quickly, it backfires every single time. All right, and you know it. There's a lot of experience in the room, and you know it. It backfires when you do this process too quickly. So this can't be rushed. So in stage 1, if you look at the page, your marketing, there's not a whole lot of money for marketing usually when it comes to a stage 1 company because you're limited in how much you can produce. You're still in the field. So it's going to be boots on the ground. You show up on stage. Every site, you should be giving your business card to 5 neighbors and just saying, hey, we're going to be working down the street. We're going to make some dust. We might park on the street. If there's any issues, here's my card. Please call. We'll try to accommodate if we're doing too much noise or too much dust. But essentially, we just want to make sure that you have our card in case there's something. And then at the end, why not invest in $5 at Starbucks and go back to your neighbor and say, hey, thanks so much for your patience. Here's a couple cards to Starbucks just for your patience, or a car wash. Hey, there's a lot of dust. Here's a couple cards to the car wash, because that's what we used to do because there's a car wash right in our area that was really popular. That's what we do. Just free car wash and some Starbucks. And neighbors like, oh, that's cool. That's never happened to us. And you leave that mark. Sometimes they would only hire us 2-3 years later, some of them. But it's that connection. It's free marketing. Well, free. Very low investment marketing. But that's what you got to do in stage 1 is find ways to use your money in a way and your time. You don't have a lot of time. So you're already there, might as well do it, right? So that's an example of the type of marketing you're going to be doing. Forward planning should include having a budget, revenue goals, daily, weekly, monthly revenue tracking. So every week, you should know how much money you should be making on average per day. Do you know on average how much a hardscape company or crew of 3 should be making, let's say if you're working 10 hours a day? How much revenue you should be making minimum per crew per day? That's really good. Depends on the overhead, absolutely. But let's say we have like a company that's got 30% overhead, just normal, right? Like just well balanced in the numbers, and you have to pay for a truck, a trailer for that crew, some equipment. So let's put like a enclosed trailer with a dump truck, like a F550, and some tools, compactor, and let's put like in the budget, let's put like an excavator. Let's put an excavator and a skid steer for each crew. But we could just do one machine if you want. For some people, it's stretching it out. So we did the math, all right? So for a company that wanted to have their truck, their trailer, they had to produce over 600 to 700,000 per year as a minimum just to cover that equipment and their labor and make a profit. All right, so you're talking about over 700 $100K per crew. But honestly, so my specialty, I don't know if you're like, I know there's a few people like that here. When you show up on site and you see people not working, are you annoyed? Like, do you have like a radar, like a special radar that picks up on unproductive people? I could walk on a site and know that they weren't productive in the backyard, right? Like I could just tell. That's my gift, all right, when I show up on a site. But it's the same when I evaluate a hardscape crew. I know exactly where they're wasting their time. Like it doesn't take very long. So it's possible for anyone in this room to make over $1 million in revenue in 7 to 8 months with a crew of 3. And if you don't believe me, we'll challenge, okay? You challenge me, and we'll make a plan. If you follow the plan and it doesn't work, I'll come back next year and I'll say, hey, it doesn't work. But if you're willing, it's doable, all right? But that means that as a minimum, just to cover the basics, usually a crew that has a truck. So let's just put a truck on lease, new equipment. We don't want stuff that's going to break down, but just new equipment. You're going to have to produce a minimum between 3,300 to 4,000 as a minimum, just to break even per day. So oftentimes I'm with people, they're like, well, my market can only tolerate 2,000 a day. Well, for hardscaping, if you have the equipment I just talked about, chances are there's not much profit left. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's true, right? It's probably hard. Some days you might make 6,000. I know a crew that was making, so they were making 600 when I met them, and that's why they hired me per crew. Now they're making between 1 to 1.2 per crew, and between $5,500 to $7,500 a day. Same company, same people, different tools, different processes, different schedule. They used to go to the shop, now they go right to the job site. Do you know how much more money they're making just because of that one change? Does anyone do that here? Does that save you a little bit of time? A lot. So they were able to add over $150,000 in revenue, just that one change. Stop going to the shop. Doesn't mean it's for everyone. If your company, it works well for you, great. But for smaller companies, you only have so many people, and it has to be smooth sailing. It has to run. All right? So smaller companies, you're the business owner, but you're probably doing all these things. All right? I had a client that contacted me and said, yeah, so we were on a Zoom call, and he had all these hats, and like one on top of the other. He says, my wife wanted me to show you how many hats I'm wearing in my business. All right? I'm the marketing department, the sales department, the complaint department, the admin department, and he just kept naming them, right? I'm the manager, I'm the foreman, I'm the... If that's the case, that's not sustainable. We all know that, right? So the goal is to get out of stage 1. You don't have to get to stage 5. Not everyone wants to own a fully systemized business that they don't have to even touch. They can just show up, look at their numbers, see if it makes sense, motivate their leaders, support their leaders, and then technically their job is done. A guy from Florida approached me at Hardscape North America last year. He was about 37 years old. He's like, I'm borderline depressed, Frank. Like, honestly, because I was talking to him about increasing business value and stuff, he says, I want to focus on that. But because we fully systemize the business, now I don't even have to be there. I don't have any purpose. He's like, when I show up, people get upset because they're like, no, we have it under control. Everything's good. And he says, I look at my numbers. Everything's good. My wife tells me that I should not complain because I have a fully systemized business. So he says, what we did is focused on his purpose. I evaluated their business. I looked at the worth of it. And then he said, well, what could I do with that? I said, well, how about you help other people do the same? And that's exactly what he's doing now. And he's doing a fantastic job. But he had to break down, like, what did he do? And how can he repeat that over and over? And so these are some of the steps. All right, 10 minutes left. I'm going to go from here. So stage 1, you got to focus on knowing how much everything costs. You have to make sure that your estimated versus actual numbers are right. Because if you're like me and you wait 5 years to figure out that you're not pricing correctly, that was my first 5 years. Took me 5 years to just really get a hold of my numbers. It's so much easier now. With software like SynkedUP, when I started out, there wasn't any software. It was like the old Excel sheet. Anyone use the old Excel sheets? Yeah, but now you can get your answers on your phone or your desktop in no time just because you know what's going on in your business, your numbers. All right, you need a job costing systems, and you need to know how much money you made or you lost on every job, and then course correct. So if you're not making money, charge more. If you don't think you can charge that, charge it anyways. There's a company I work with in Toronto. They said, well, we're going to go out of business anyways, so we might as well double the price. Toronto's a different market. But they doubled the price, and people kept paying it. And then they upped the price again. People kept paying it. And now it's Oreo Landscaping, one of the most high-end companies in Toronto. But these same guys thought they were going to go out of business. Stage 1, all right. Stage 2, you're finally finding time, maybe part-time, maybe full-time. You're going to go in the office, or you found someone for the office, and you're starting to work on your admin systems. So someone's answering the phone, someone's booking your schedule, booking your meetings in the schedule. You're estimating. Maybe you have someone that helps you with that. Maybe you have someone who helps you print reports from your software that tells you if you're making money or not. It's all the time that it takes to really get a grip on your business, and it all happens in the office. You're going to need that for stage 3, because in stage 3, you have to have those systems. Because in stage 3, what you're doing is you're training your leaders to do all the work that you used to do in the field, and you're going to be focusing just on sales and marketing. So in stage 2, the stage 1 was your ability on the site, your skills on the site, teaching people to do it. Stage 2 is your skills in the office, building the office systems. Stage 3 is going to be your marketing and sales as the main person doing that. So as a business owner, you have to, if you want more employees, you have to up the revenue. So you have to focus on the sales and marketing, automate that, just like Toys Landscaping did. With Groundworks, Web Runner Media, SynkedUP, they were able to automate their sales process and sell a lot more in a less time, correct? You probably spend, a third of the time and produce like 3 times the revenue. So you're like 10 times more efficient with that system, that sales system. And you can teach that sales system to anyone, right? Step by step. Stage 3 is also going to be about, you have to train leaders to lead people. You can't be the only leader. So you're going to start having team meetings and really delegating the leadership side to your employees. In stage 4, it's official. It's full-time. Your leaders are taking care of the field operations. You're just there to guide and support your leaders. You're there to look at the numbers. You're there to build all the systems that are missing to run a tight ship. That's stage 4. And stage 5 is you have a fully automated business from sales, admin, marketing, and production. You don't have to be there for your business to run. That's the most valuable business you can build. You can have a small business of 5 people, 10 people, and still be fully systemized. But wouldn't it be great in 5 years from now, or 10 years, or 15, you'd have a business that you can sell, right? I see people producing $5 million in revenue, and they can't even sell their business for $500K. Basically, they can just sell the equipment, but the business is not worth anything because nothing's automated. And if the business owner leaves, everything stops. Like nobody knows exactly what to do when the top person is not there. But I also know $5 million businesses that can sell for a lot more than the $500K, right? They can sell for $3 million, 6 times EBITDA. If it's 10%, let's say it's $500K, your profit, your net profit. Let's say it's $500K because it's a $5 million company. You can 6 times that if you have a business that has reoccurring revenue, like a maintenance division. I know a guy that didn't have it. He had a maintenance division, but it was smaller. So he bought a pool company with a lot of pool maintenance contract. And for anyone in pools, by the way, that's the most profitable maintenance service you can offer, is maintaining pools. like the close and open pools in the winter. For those of you who live in the climate that I live in, everyone with a pool has to open it and close it, right? So that's the fastest way or the most profitable way to change your business, for example. There's other ways for sure, but that's just an example. Also, in stage 5, you have to realize that you're going to be constantly tweaking your system. You're always looking for, it's almost like future-proofing your business, anticipating that 2024, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. It could be really good, like it could be really slow, but the prediction is that you're going to have to invest more money in marketing to get the same revenue. So if you already plan for that, if it doesn't happen, great, it's more money in your pocket. But if it does happen, you're ready. And my gut feeling tells me that it's like 75% to 90% sure that you're going to have to invest more money to get the same type of business. People are not spending as much money. Do I have 14 minutes? Oh, well, then I'm just going to... But that's the goal is just to make your life easier. So what I'd like to do is, so I'm just going to scan through this document, because if you've downloaded the document, you're going to see, like in stage 1, you're going to see basically the primary focus, what you should be focused on. You're going to see the important KPIs that you should track, the numbers that you should track. So in the first stage, just make sure that you know your daily, weekly, monthly revenue, and check every month, am I on par with what I need to bring in to be profitable this year? If not, change the plan. The same for your revenue per man hour. You should know how many hours you sell a year, or how much you need to sell, and how much you need to charge per hour per person in order, like a gentleman asked earlier, how much should I charge? Well, it depends on the skill level and all these things. But let's just take $100 per man hour just as a number. It could be 95, it could be 100, it could be 85. But let's just take 100. So if you charge $100 per revenue per man hour, and you're the business owner and you have 2 helpers, that means you're probably producing between 4,500 to 6,000 hours a year, right? So that means you could hit what? 600,000 realistically. But if you are more efficient and you're producing, let's say, when I meet a business and I look at how much they produce per hour, if it's 100, there's just barely surviving, okay? If I take the number of the revenue and I divide it by the number of hours and it gives me a number, if it's 100, I know that they're probably struggling. But when it's 150, then I know they're doing really well. And for guys, I met a guy the other day who he only installs water features and lighting. That's all he does. And those are 2 of the most profitable services you can offer. And I know that it's not something you can sell on every job, but for him, that's his business. That's all he does. And he's got the most profitable business I've ever seen. Over 40% net profit. That's all he does. And it's easy to train people on lighting. Anyone here use InLight? I love it. So I installed Kitchler and all these, but as soon as I tried InLight, I was like, whoa, I can train all my employees on this type of lighting. It's a no-brainer. It takes not even, 30 seconds to hook up a light, and then the transformer, maybe 5 minutes. And I mean, I know there's a lot of work in cutting between bricks and stuff that needs to get done, but in a couple hours, you know how much money you can make with lighting? And water features, same thing. You can make $250 per man hour easy with water features. And I'm talking just buying a kit, like a basin, 4x4, digging a little hole in the ground, filling it with water, putting some little stone, decorative stone, that little unit, the pump. You buy the kit for what, $2,200 maybe from Aquascape? I don't know, just guessing. There's different kits. But if you can sell it $5,000 and install it in 2 hours, that's an example. You could sell more of these per year, right? So if you set a goal for this year, so I know a company that said, hey, we want to make $60K more just profit next year. How can we do it? And I just suggested, do you do lighting and water features? Yeah, but not a lot. But I said, what if we promoted it? They installed 12 water features extra and 15 extra lighting job. And they made their profit exactly what they wanted, even more. So, like, if you're limiting yourself to just hardscapes, let's say you're doing hardscapes, well, it's the upsells that are going to make most of your profit. I mean, hardscapes are great. They'll make you a good 10% net, realistically. Like, even if we want to make 15 and 20, trust me, it's going to be hard to do, but you can do it depending how much you charge. But if you add features like this that are very profitable, this is where you can hit the 15 and 20% net without more effort, without putting in more hours per year. So those are two examples. So stage one, it's you need to know how much money you need to make. That's the biggest thing. And when people say, what's the first tool you'd invest in? They think I'm going to say an excavator or a truck. Honestly, I would say a way to figure out your numbers. And it's great because you're at a conference where you have a software that can help you. And some people say, oh, it's so expensive. Trust me, it's going to be a lot more expensive. If you pay yourself, let's say, even you're just starting out, you pay yourself $40K a year. You take a few $1,000s and you invest in that, in no time you'll be making 60. Right? I would be ready to challenge anyone on that. It's easy to run numbers because when you run numbers, you see where you're losing money. And usually you lose a lot of money because you don't know you're losing it. And that's why you're losing it. You lose it until you figure out that you're losing it. So, stage one, the process. You got to get really good at budgeting, keeping information in one place. Don't do like I used to do it first with my Post-it note in my trucks, because that doesn't work. Plus, I don't know if it's ever happened to you. I remember being on the highway once and seeing a client go by like on the other side of the highway. It was a 4-lane highway. So I was going one way home, tired. It's like 7 p.m., super tired. This guy's going the other way. And that, I had totally forgotten to send the invoice. It was like 2.5 months, a job we had completed. And I was wondering why my cash flow was low. I never sent him the $25K invoice that he owed me. But when you have that in one place, you see who owes you money, for how long they've owed you, and it's easy to collect money when you have the right software. Whether you're sending the bill with QuickBooks or other ways, it's something that might take you a few hours to implement, but will save you hundreds of hours long term. And if you don't know how, ask Angelica. She'll find someone that can do it for you. If you can get good at estimating, keeping information in one place, and tracking your money, no doubt you'll see revenue go up the first year. And you got to train your people. That's the most important part. I'm just going to skip a little bit here. Other things you can do is you want to attract good people. If you're one or two in a company, you still have to do all the same things that big companies have to do. So when somebody shows up at your door, you have to say like, hey, I'm hiring for a foreman position. Here's the roles and responsibilities. Here's what you're going to do every day. Here's the things that I'm going to provide. Here's how I'm going to onboard you, and here's your career plan. Right? And if you can do that, doesn't matter how small you are as a company, people will respect you. They'll be like, you got a plan. You got a better plan than the company that was like 10 million in revenue. I'm gonna work for you because you just showed me how I can make 40, 50, 60, 100K per year. I just have to bring the goods. So if you have an employee that's motivated and you can show him how he can make the money, perfect. That person will do it. If you hire someone intelligent, they'll be there in no time if you onboard them right. So every company should have an onboarding program. As simple as a piece of paper that says roles and responsibilities, well laid out, and the plan for how that person can grow with the company. That gives hope. All right, stage 2, you're trying to move off the field, so you're going to be more focused on this, but you're going to have to still assist people and probably still stick around for your foreman or other leaders in your business. And you're going to stay in stage 2 as long as you need to address the administrative side of your business. So you really have to build those systems like Frizen mentioned this morning, in landscaping, like they had to create a system that worked for them. And so now you can probably get more calls. You have someone that takes care of it, doesn't fall on your shoulders as much, right? You have to leverage your time somehow. So if you don't like doing that, again, there are solutions, and you don't even have to bring someone into the office. They can do it remotely. That's the good news. Primary focus is going to be office competency, employee management, time-based marketing, and relationship marketing. So you should start meeting with people every week, every month. I say that every time. Some people say, well, I'm not a people person. I don't like to meet new people or call people. It's as easy as saying, hey, I saw your trucks going by today. Your company has, let's say you try to find a company that works in your field. It could be like, I'll give you an example. You see an electrician go by, and you install pools. And you call them and you say, hey, I've seen your trucks everywhere. I install pools. I need an electrician for my wiring, or I need more. Are you guys interested in meeting? Maybe go for dinner, see for a good match. Maybe I can bring you some more business. And if you guys are open to it, maybe we can look how we can work together. It's as easy as that, right? Oh, I just saw your truck go by. You guys have nice trucks. Who do you yield for such and such? What I've realized is when you contact people and you compliment them, you try to bring them value, people are like, they open up. All of a sudden, people are like, oh, you want to take me for lunch? Yeah, I'll take you. And then all of a sudden, they start providing all these resources that they use, and God knows you might create friendships along the way, people that can support you. That's happened to me time after time. People think you have to pay a lot of money to hire subcontractors or find people. But honestly, the more you talk to people, it's easy for someone who likes people, but the more you do it, the more you'll attract people. Anyone here knows Atlas Outdoor out of Michigan? Seen them on social media? A few? Okay, check them out on social media if you want. Sam Gamble, he's the owner, and he hired me probably like 5-6 years ago for his hardscape department. He wanted to really systemize it. One thing I noticed with Sam could sell a project. Doesn't matter if it's $250K or $500K. He could sell it because he's one of the most sociable, dynamic, motivating, and even he'd get out of a sales meeting, the owner wants to know what he's on. He's like, holy man, like, how many coffees did you eat? And trust me, it's just his pure energy. So for him, that's his gift. But he'll be the first one to tell you, don't put him on the field. He doesn't know how to do much. But what he's good at doing is finding people. And so I asked him, I said, how do you find so many great people? He's got over 88 or 90 employees now, close to 100 probably at the busy season. And he said, I just talk to a lot of people, right? He still puts out ads, and he still asks his employees to refer people, and there's a referral program and stuff. But this guy talks to a lot of people. So if you're not taking someone out every week or every month to make a new connection in this industry, it's money that you could have, opportunities that you could have, resources you could have that you're just not tapping into. It's like Danny said this morning, all the resources are closer than you think, and you might just be like 2 people away from, like you might be talking to someone next to you, they can't help you, but they know someone who wants exactly what you need, or they know someone who, it's funny because the other day I was like, oh, I wonder how you would get on a TV show like, I don't know, like I was just talking about Oprah to someone just like that when she had her show. And I was like, how do you get it like on a big show like that? And someone said, well, I know who cuts their lawn, like who takes care of her yard. I'm like, wow. So I know you, and you know the person who owns a company that cuts the lawn. And not even the following week, NALP came out with some kind of their little newsletter, and they were promoting this company. And I'm like, just because I knew the name, I was like, there you go. Now I know that I would just have to get connected with this guy, and if I go at NALP next year, I could probably meet them. Not that I want to be on Oprah, but I'm just saying, like, you could be just a couple people from exactly what you want or need. So invest more time in stage 2 to do this. Stage 3, and it's all going to be in that workbook that I gave you, so you can just kind of look through it. I'm giving you the highlights. But stage 3, primary focus is going to be sales and marketing, sales forecasting, because you need to produce the sales required to grow your business. And every year, if you want to grow a little bit, whether it's 5%, 20%, 10%, 40%, you need to be able to automate this part of it. And these are the KPIs that you need to track. So you're tracking a lot more on how much it's costing you to get a lead, such as Toys Landscape. So they had to figure out, okay, it's costing us, let's say, so many dollars to find someone, but then when we find them, so the first year we implemented it, can I say the number, how much more revenue you made just with them? The $600K. So not only did they reach their goal, but they made an extra $600K in revenue, and it was all automated. But they knew exactly how much it would cost them. So sometimes I hear, yeah, but $30,000 or $40,000 is a lot of money for marketing. But not if you're hitting numbers like never before, and it's bringing in the leads and everything's automated. It pays for itself, right? So if you want to pick Cody's brain, he's the marketing guy at Toys Landscape, and he can explain the whole process. And stage 4, I just want to focus here on a couple KPIs. You're starting to notice that the less involved you are in your business, the more numbers you need to track in terms of like the more things you need to make sure that you're not overlooking. So essentially, when you get to stage 4 and stage 5, technically you could show up at work, make sure that all your leaders have what they need, and you support them, make sure that you're hitting those numbers, or you're finding solution with them if you're not hitting those numbers. And technically, that could be your job, stage 4. And then stage 5, you decide how much you want to be involved in the business, but you've got to make sure that you're future-proofing the business and that you're creating a vision and you're breaking it down. You start with the goal. Let's say you want another 10 million in revenue per year, and you break it down starting from the end in mind. Say, okay, if we want 10 million, it means we got to sell this much more. It means we need this many more salespeople. We need so many more people working in the company. How many can we hire a month? How many can we train in a year? So the problems are different, but they're kind of the same. You're just focused more on the growth and the opportunities and future-proofing the business. Does that make sense? So with the resources that I shared with you, if you download them, you'll get the email. Go through it at your own pace, but there's enough information in there to help you focus. And so I was just going to say, if you guys are looking to build a strategic plan, it's as easy as booking an appointment with me. I'll give everyone my time. Anyone who's motivated, who wants to create change, I'll give you some of my free time just to help you focus on what's next for you. And there's different options. It doesn't have to be full-fledged coaching for the whole year, but there's different ways to guide you so you have the right resources. So hope that works for you. Thanks a lot. And if you have any questions, I have business cards for people who just like the good old-fashioned cards. And for those of you who like the QR codes, I can provide it to you, no problem. So,
all right.
if you really want
Frank,
to break.
thank you very much.
All right, thank you.